run these live streams. Try to do them every week and don't always succeed in that, but they're generally at this time of day, often on Tuesdays, sometimes on Fridays. Just like to keep you on your toes. If you want to know when they're coming, a couple of places you can see that. So generally stream to my Twitter and LinkedIn profiles, which is at Will Critchlow in both places, as well as to the SearchPilot YouTube channel, which is at SearchPilot on YouTube. And you could also head to searchpilot.com/live, where there's a load of resources available for you. So more information about what SearchPilot does, how we do it, the benefits of SEO testing, some customer stories, case studies, those kinds of things, as well as the ability to sign up to our email list, where you can hear about our latest test results and SEO insights, as well as hearing when these streams are going to be. So I recommend all of that. And if you do want a demo of SearchPilot, if you think there might be an opportunity for us to help you with your enterprise level SEO testing, then at searchpilot.com/live, there's a form there as well that you can fill in, and we'd be in touch to arrange a time to speak. So I think we're live on all the platforms. Thanks for joining me again today. A couple of things for you this week. So I'm going to spend a chunk of time talking about some reflections about things that I've heard from senior leadership, digital leaders, P&L holders about SEO, because this is something that I've been, it's been critical to my progress in my career. I think could be valuable to many folks on the call, whether you're in leadership and you're interested in what's happening in other companies, whether you report to leadership, or whether you are a service provider or an agency or whatever, and you are trying to impress and win over those folks. Then I think in all cases, it's interesting to know what their priorities are, how they think about this stuff, and what's going on in their world right now. And I've been having a lot of these conversations recently with our customers, with prospects, with the broader market. And I thought I'd reflect on that, and I'd also reflect it out to you and try and be helpful and useful to a few folks. I've got a little bit as well about some follow-ups on the API documentation leak out of Google and some of the thinking that I've been doing about that and where I think that goes next, as well as a couple of other bits and pieces of details of things that I've found interesting this week, or that I wanted to mention. I've been getting some comments about the backdrop in here, so I'm lucky enough to have a little bit of home office space, thanks COVID, I guess, and get this set up. And I've basically got maps on this wall, so I'm a big map projection geek. This is a Damaxian projection. I've got others that you can't see off screen, and rockets. So rocket ship. That's what's going on here. Anyway, let me know if you've got any questions about that. More importantly, let's talk a little bit about how senior folks are thinking about SEO right now. So I'm talking here everything upwards from heads of digital, so VPs, SVPs, EVPs, CMOs, the C-suite, and it is fascinating how the disconnect that sometimes appears when we, as I count myself in the geek camp here, when we as SEO geeks think about how to frame our insights, our recommendations, our discoveries, and our outcomes, we think that we're doing a good job of framing that in a way that is going to be digestible by the business, useful to leadership, and we miss the mark really often. I've missed the mark. I've read many documents that miss the mark. I've had feedback from customers and clients and so forth over the years that this is an area that is kind of quite mystifying to all the folks. And so I've been doing my best to have those conversations. I've been speaking to as many people in those senior positions as I can, and to the audience, if any of you are in one of those positions and haven't spoken yet, I'd love to have that chat. Hopefully I've got some value to add from all of these conversations that we've had around the marketplace, around the industry, and I've certainly got things to learn from you. So drop me an email. I'm pretty easy to find, and my DMs are open on Twitter and LinkedIn as well. And so, we typically these days work with quite large websites and across a number of sectors: travel, e-commerce, real estate, jobs, media, publishing, listings, local. And so what I'm about to reflect comes from many different sectors and industries, but it is typically those large scalable websites where a lot of SEO, honestly, is a product activity. And I've talked in a previous week about this trend of SEO moving into the product org. But yeah, so let me tell you some anecdotes, some things that I've heard from those conversations. One, I've had a lot of meetings over the last few days. One at the end of this week, somebody saying, we don't really have organic targets. So this individual said, we have overall digital targets, e-commerce targets for the website. This was an offline online business with bricks and mortar as well as e-com. So we have overall targets for the website. And then we spend all our time in leadership meetings reviewing media spend, because honestly, the spend is the thing that we control, and the media spend dwarfs our SEO investment. No surprises for many of us in the SEO space. I think we've long known that the overall investment in paid dominates the investment in organic, but it was quite stark to hear explicitly, we spend all our time in leadership meetings reviewing media spend. Same individual said, when I look at the returns we get from paid and the returns we get from organic, and then I look at the spend on each and the time we spend on each at leadership, it's quite shocking. That was a quote. And so there's a lot of folk who know that they ought to be spending more time, energy, effort, and insights on organic, but it's difficult for them to, because they know how the model works with media. And not only do they know how the model works, so they understand it, but the reporting aligns with the way that they think, the way that they influence things. Businesses influence things by spending money. So the things that they're spending money on are the things that are going to get attention. And this is a bit of a vicious cycle, but it's one of the things that we're at SearchPilot we're trying to do. And I've been toying with a couple of different approaches of messaging recently, so I'd love to know if any of this resonates. But one of the lines that I've used with a few CMOs recently is that what SearchPilot is doing is turning organic search into a channel that you can understand, like paid media. And that seems to be resonating with a lot of folks. The fact that you can look at it as a dollars in, dollars out type investment, it's quite revolutionary. And so that's one anecdote. Different business. This was a travel business, actually. The quote was, SEO is so confusing. There are so many conflicting opinions. And this business says, our priority, we just want to be right and we want to move faster. So that is that kind of two-pronged speed and correctness. That's a bit of a theme. And ties, again, obviously a lot of this stuff ties into our core pitch. And this is why I'm spending so much of my personal time on this, is I really, really need to understand what resonates, what are the priorities, what of the things that we do are the things that people really need and really want and are prepared to spend money on, allocate their budget to. And that this kind of right and fast. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense to a lot of businesses, I think. And it meshes with a lot of our kind of core pitch, which is a kind of threefold thing of you can run more tests with SearchPilot than any other way of doing it. Run more tests more easily with a lower investment, without a ton of engineering resource, without bottlenecks. So you can run more tests more quickly. You can get more confident results because our analysis capabilities are better. And so you therefore can detect even smaller uplifts with statistical confidence. And then there's the PS piece. So we have, at this point, I think some of the most experienced folks with SEO testing anywhere in the world, because they are testing across multiple different sectors, verticals, websites. And so we can help with potentially anything all the way up to ideation, test build, analysis, and so forth, and increasingly experimentation program design as well. So the KPIs of an experimentation program around cadence, win rates, those kinds of things. And I've talked about some of this over the last few weeks, so no kind of surprises there. But this is why I'm trying to join these dots and make this stuff mesh up. Another theme that I've heard surprisingly often is folks in the senior level of the business just saying that this business has been stung in the past by making changes to the website that damaged SEO performance and not realizing until too late that we'd done that. And that's a real blocker to investing in organic, because which seems ironic, I think, because you kind of think, well, if you've messed things up in the past, then maybe you should be bringing some experts in to help you not mess up. And, certainly in an agency era, I would have been saying, oh, but that's exactly why you need an agency. But what I'm hearing is that this has made the business gun shy on even just investing in the channel at all. And they'd rather let sleeping dogs lie, which maybe they wouldn't phrase it like that, because I think, well, anyway, it's a blocker to them investing. And so this is the kind of risk mitigation side, which we don't talk about a huge deal, maybe not as much as we should. But we have, beyond, most of the time we tend to focus on winners. I think that's the kind of glossy, shiny bit of testing. And obviously it's the bit everybody celebrates, is when you get that uplift and you get to say to the business, hey, we got a 9%, 10%, 11% uplift on this site section in organic performance, ideally revenue. And those are the things that get celebrated. But there's actually a kind of couple of other key benefits of testing. If you're testing through a program where it's easy to run tests without engineering involvement, one of the big benefits is all of those tests that don't win are efficiency savings. So classic industry win rates, 10 to 15%. We've been achieving just over 20% recently. So that means 80% of your tests, even in the best case, are negative or inconclusive. And if you're able to run those tests without engineering involvement, then those 80% become things that just never become tickets. They just never hit your engineering and product team. And actually, I literally just came off a call with a prospect before this, and one of the things that I heard there was the product and engineering team are not excited about the average SEO change. And I've heard this from many folks, right? The median SEO change is a title tag change, adding schema, modifying meta information, maybe changing some internal linking. It's not exciting engineering and product work. And product and engineering orgs in functional organizations can get excited about mundane work if there's a big payoff, if there's a big business benefit. That's a path to visibility with the senior team and good things happening in your career. Testing can be a path to both those things. So if we can say, okay, let's cut out the 80% that are bringing no benefit, we're now confident every ticket in the system is beneficial, is worth doing to the business. Straight away, everybody's happier because they can spend their freed up time on more innovative, more valuable product work. And the remaining 20% of sometimes grunt work that they do have to do is much, much easier to tie to the purpose and the mission of the business, because it comes with a dollar figure, it comes with a revenue impact. And that's the kind of thing that goes on a resume, right? Implemented X changes, which drove Y in bottom line for this business. And so that's another interesting angle. And what I think I maybe need to talk about more is not just that efficiency gain, but also the ability to avoid the scary downsides. And as I say, I'm thinking that this needs to be a bigger part of the discussion, because I'm just hearing so often about businesses, even really big, I'm talking here public companies, so they're Fortune 500, FTSE 100 companies, that are scared to invest in SEO because at some point in the past they messed something up, their rankings dropped, their organic performance dipped, their revenue was impacted, and it was embarrassingly long before they noticed. And so what we're trying, obviously we want to shorten that gap so there isn't a big gap before you notice, but crucially, if you're running these tests, then you can be running them in a safer manner for a short period of time, and even on a subset of a site section, so not even necessarily on every page. And you can kind of sandbox, ring fence the blast radius, the damage that can be done, detect it immediately. And I think I showed a couple of weeks ago our trend in how long tests take to get to a result. And we've been gradually over time at SearchPilot driving down that trend. So we're now on average running tests for somewhere in the region of 2.5 weeks. And that's down over the last few years. And it's fairly uniform across test types, except for negative tests. Negative tests sometimes get turned off much sooner. So the average is significantly lower. And that is for the obvious reason that if you detect a big drop, you turn it off as fast as you can. You don't necessarily wait for statistical significance because, as I've said many times, we're doing business, not science. And yes, there might be a scientific interest in figuring out, well, is it a 12% drop or a 14% drop? And let's get statistical confidence on that. A business says, well, it's a big drop. Let's turn it off. Let's not do that. And so, that's a slightly tricky one to navigate because I think, we're a significant investment, and more than the investment of money, we're a big operational decision. And businesses that have been stung by their own failure to operationalize SEO in the past, those are probably some of the trickiest sales that we get involved with. Next thing I hear from senior team is that the reports they get tend to speak to other practitioners. They get into the weeds. They don't answer the things that, this is the leader speaking, they don't answer the things I need to know. So the folks say the details of the technical changes are far less important than their revenue impact. So if you're putting SEO reporting or any scale of reporting together, remembering to report on the impact and trying to pull yourself out of saying you don't need to get into those technical weeds of what individual changes were exactly. And I was reviewing a report earlier this week, and I was encouraging the team to refer to things as, this was a UX improvement. It's pretty vague. The full details are there in the appendix. The full details are there for anybody who's interested in reading about the specific change to the breadcrumb and the markup and which pages it was on and why we thought that hypothesis was a strong one. The executive doesn't care. The executive is like, okay, we're investing in improving the user experience, and look, it was a positive impact. That's the level we should be talking at, and particularly connecting it to pounds and pence, dollars and cents, revenue. That's the language of the leadership. And so simplify and connect to revenue. That's my simplest tip for that. And obviously connect to revenue is not always easy, and this is the business we're in. But for many folks, that's a big part of the gap of what the challenge with an SEO program. And it's like, that is the mission that we're on at SearchPilot, is proving that value. And it's kind of fun, honestly, when we do get to work with some of those large organizations and connect things to revenue in ways that have never been connected before, have that dashboard that shows the individual initiatives and their revenue impact and the percentage changes, and sum all of that up and say, look, we've hit our annual target already. Isn't that incredible? And the flywheel effect of the product teams getting on board with that, the analytics teams, the revenue teams, the P&L owner, it's pretty powerful. Speaking of, another quote that I heard this week was, it's like SEO teams are allergic to forecasting. I hear a lot. So I hear in the SEO world, I hear a lot the excuse, defense, reason that Google says you can't guarantee results. Yeah, I mean, I think that's, nobody can ensure that things are going to work out in your favor, not even SearchPilot. But I've always found this a little bit of a misnomer. When I was younger, I used to think that guarantee meant certainty. And of course, that isn't what a guarantee is. A guarantee is money back if it doesn't work, typically, some percentage of money back. So you can offer an SEO guarantee, obviously. I mean, if you really want to. It may or may not be a sensible business model, but Google should be saying nobody can ensure results. You can guarantee them if you want to. But even taking it as you can't guarantee results, fine, sure, okay. Nor can sales. Your sales team can't guarantee results. Other marketing channels and teams can't guarantee results, but you can still forecast. You can still carry a quota. You can still commit to targets. And I think this is one of my biggest hobby horses of bugbears in the industry, is there's a kind of collective reluctance to forecast, to carry a quota, to commit to a target. And I'd love us to all get better at that. And we're certainly working hard on improving in that area at SearchPilot. Another interesting one I heard was about competitor envy. So This is the power of convincing senior folks with what their competitors are up to. And I heard this on a call this afternoon, but a very powerful example of it was a few weeks ago, talking about the e-commerce performance major brand, and the leader that I was talking to saying the business obsesses over competitor X. We measure our share of voice, share of search, we measure our share of wallet, we obsess about the product range, we obsess about our competitive positioning, all of these things. If you want to unlock anything with this business, talk about how it will help us beat competitor X. And I think that is not unique to that organization. I've heard this many times, but I haven't really operationalized it in my own mind anywhere near as much as I probably should have. It's super convincing. And I remember working with my brother years ago when he used to work at Distilled as well. You remember when Panda came out? Some of you might remember when the Panda update hit, and we collaborated on a Panda survey. So you might remember that the Panda was trained on human responses to a whole load of quality questions. So asking users of websites questions like, would you trust this website with your credit card details? Would you bookmark this website? Would you send it to a friend? Does it look like it's written by an expert? Does it feel like it's got major errors? And we ran that survey questionnaire, those same questions, past a panel of real people for our clients at the time and their key competitors. And I still think that was one of the most influential bits of consulting work that we ever did. That went to the board of a multi-billion-dollar company and drove immediate investment in user experience improvement. So, yeah, I guess the quote there is competitor envy is a tool for convincing senior folks. And buried in there, I was talking about share of voice and share of search. And that's something that I've been surprised isn't better handled by the tools and data providers in the SEO industry, because it feels like if we could have a good way of comparing a particular subfolder on a major e-com site, or maybe not even subfolder, but subcategory of products, with the same or equivalent subcategory on their major competitors, plus the entire website effectively of some niche competitors who only specialize in that subcategory of product, we ought to be able to compare that share of voice, share of visibility, share of search effectively across those things. And maybe we're missing something, but we've been trying with all the major tool providers and data providers, and it's quite a tricky problem. So you can do it at the entire website level, or you can do it at the page level, or you can do it at the keyword group level. But trying to do it on the product subcategory is tricky. So anyway, if anybody's cracked that, then please do drop me a line. I'd be very interested in hearing more. Okay, so that was just a little ramble through some reflections of things that I've been hearing, particularly recently from senior leadership. I think general themes are some folks are doing really well, but there's a lot of SEO budgets under pressure. There's a lot of SEO teams and SEO performance under pressure. There's a lot of senior folks who are seeing the noise and disruption and uncertainty in Google's behavior in particular. And there's a lot of waiting to see where things are going. A lot of folks who are just cautious about where to deploy those budgets. And I think some of that is not Google specific, some of that is macro. I think with still this kind of spectre of inflation looming, interest rates are still high, out higher than we'd like them to be. There's political uncertainty, both sides of the Atlantic. And I guess we'll see what the rest of the year holds. I'm a perpetual optimist, but it is certainly challenging for many businesses. And I think the Google uncertainty is only adding to that. So I've got some more tactical things I want to run through. I'm going to share my screen. We'll see if The little blackout caused everyone to drop off. Sorry about that. Press the wrong button. The perils of being your own producer. Right. I think I'm still streaming. Let's see if I come back. Yeah, I think I'm still there on, at least on YouTube. Yep, we're back. Maybe not on Twitter. We'll see how that goes. Okay. Let's share. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the digging a little deeper into the Google API documentation leak. So far, this section, the per doc data page, is the one I spent the most time with, and I thought I'd just expose some of the discussions and thinking that we've had and we're continuing to have. I kind of figure the reason I'm investing in thinking about this is I think most of the signals that we as SearchPilot can influence and measure are at this doc or page level. And so, yeah, a few things that are interesting on here. I think where are we? Semantic date is one that I thought was somewhat interesting. So there are quite a few fields in here related to dates and freshness. So there's this semantic date concept, which is estimated based on the contents via parsing, via anchors. So this suggests some potential tests that we could run. I think particularly dates in internal links to the page is something that I don't think I've seen tested. We've obviously tested adding dates to the page in page content itself, but yeah, that could be interesting. There's been quite a lot of talk of this last significant update concept, which is, again, Google trying to figure out when something was last updated. And I think I don't think it's a secret that there's some intersectional correlation between whether you tell the truth in things like your sitemap about when pages were significantly updated or not. I don't know that that's necessarily a big test that we'd want to run, but there's one about repeated dates. That's on a different page. I don't have that one open. But this concept of is a page with fresh repeated dates is the Boolean. It's set to true if this page has a fresh repeated date sequence. So I think this is particularly focusing on things like live blog pages where you have a whole sequence of timestamps all on the same date, all very recent. I think so. Some things we could test. We could test repeated dates. Potentially, we could list all the times when a page was updated. We could test fresh dates in anchor text internally, and we've already previously seen a few strongly positive freshness tests in the past. So this is freshness and dates and things is one area where I think I've got the most new test ideas out of digging through the docs. Most of the docs is repeating things that I think we kind of basically already knew. So there's a few. I mean, we're not going to test these obviously, but there's some negative stuff around, e.g., keyword stuffing. So there's a keyword stuffing score. I guess we could try and reduce that, right? Reduce keyword stuffing. There's a concept of spam rank, which is the chance that it links out to known spammers. So again, hopefully that's not something we need to fix, but it's worth knowing. We've run tests in the past removing interstitials, and it's no surprise to see the concept of a page having a score for whether it contains an interstitial. So yeah, hopefully our customers aren't linking out spammers, aren't keyword stuffing, don't have to interruptive interstitials. It is interesting, this kind of hints that it's a desktop thing. There's no mobile interstitials Boolean, and they've just fully deprecated desktop crawling. So yeah, all this vault stuff, by the way, is this is core web vitals, page speed and so forth, user experience scores. There's some internal linking. I thought the on-site prominence variable was interesting. Computed by propagating simulated traffic from the home page. quite sure what high craps click pages are, but I think this strikes me as being very, very similar to my this article. So, proposing better ways to think about internal linking. I wrote this, 2017. I came up with this concept of incorporating external page authority into an internal page rank analysis. So this is the idea that you start with the homepage and high trust pages, and I'm trying to see if so we start with links into some pages, and then we run a page rank algorithm over the rest of it. I'll tweet this out if people are interested in diving deeper into. Oh, I'm sharing the wrong tab. This is the article I'm talking about, proposing better ways to think about internal linking on the SearchPilot site. And I'll tweet it out, and folks can dive into my presentation, or I think I've got a video somewhere in here as well. So anyway, I've given this as a presentation, but I talk exactly about how to do this in a way that I think maps to this on-site prominence concept of essentially simulated traffic from home pages and high authority pages on the site. So it's nice to know that I think I'm broadly right about this. I'm not convinced it points to how to run better tests. I mean, I guess there's an option to move things closer to the homepage or evaluate a test before running it, evaluate it with a internal page rank type calculation. I don't know. Bit of thinking to do around that. There's a commerciality score, which we might have guessed there would be, but this isn't necessarily a good or a bad thing. My suspicion is this is about matching commercial pages to commercial intent queries, and so some queries kind of, in a sense, deserve commercial results. We've already had some hypotheses around, or some like inspiration that we should have some hypotheses around actually looking more commercial for some of our customers in certain verticals, where they need to prove that they are a place that you can actually find this product. There's a few things around text length or amount of text. So there's body words to tokens ratio that, I mean, we could play around with this. I wonder if some of this is interesting around HTML structure and non-text content, but my suspicion is this is going to be a very, very small factor, if at all. I quite enjoyed this one though. Title hard token count without stop words. Number of hard tokens in the title. So originally in the title, I guess that's before Google rewrites it, without counting stop words. I don't know whether this is a good thing or a bad thing. So again, we're already running tons of title tests, but that's kind of interesting. The one I found most interesting, though it's utterly untestable, is this queries for which official Boolean. I mean, it shows the age of some of this documentation. That their top example is a Britney Spears one, which would have been a very, very common example in the mid-2000s, I guess. But yeah, I didn't know. I mean, again, you can guess this, but the set of query, country, language triples for which this document is considered to be the official page. So, for example, BritneySpears.com would be official for the search Britney Spears in the US. And this is English language 0. They put that here. So yeah, this stuff, the allow list stuff, the explicit upweighting and downweighting, some interesting bits and pieces, but nothing super revolutionary. I just thought I'd continue sharing these things as I find them. We're going to be wrapping up shortly. Maybe we're already wrapped up on Twitter accidentally after I pressed the wrong button. But I wanted to just show a couple of things I found interesting this week. One was I listened to a really good episode of the Lenny's podcast on with Claire Vaux, and I called out my learnings from it in this little video, which again I'll share on Twitter and LinkedIn. But this was all about speed and moving fast in an organization, which is something that I've been slightly obsessing about recently. A couple of slides from our recent company update. I talked to the team about, you've got this classic trichotomy. Can we be better, faster, cheaper? And the classic is you can pick two. I think realistically, even picking two is challenging. But what I'm encouraging the team to think about in our internal work is, can we be faster and better by doing less, by being more focused. And this is a focus, excellence, and speed. So do fewer things, but do them better and faster. And you can see it the other way around. Do things better and faster. And that just sounds like a recipe for working harder. So you have to focus if you're not going to burn yourself out. But anyway, I think the speed emphasis also lets me use my favorite screenshot from my favorite episode of season 2 of The Bear, which is the Forks episode, obviously. I think I've talked about that before. Okay, and the final thing I was going to mention this week is I recently joined Noah's SEO community, which is a Slack forum. So again, I'll tweet this out, but come join us. It's nice in there, and we're talking about testing. So hope that's been valuable. If anyone is interested in any of the stuff I've talked about today, I would love to chat more. I'm very easy to find on Twitter and LinkedIn, where I'm at Will Critchlow. My DMs are open. I do this stream almost every week on Tuesdays or Fridays. If you want to know when it's coming, follow me on Twitter and LinkedIn, or sign up to the SearchPilot email list at searchpilot.com/live, where you can get customer stories, case studies, background about how SEO testing works. You can join our email list for latest test results. And if you're interested, you can even sign up for a SearchPilot demo, walkthrough, chat with the team. If we can help you with your enterprise SEO testing needs, then we're all ears. We'd love to chat. In the meantime, have a great weekend, everyone. Sorry for the little technical snafu halfway through where I pressed the wrong button. Hopefully some of you were able to stick around for the second half after the jump, and maybe I'll slot an advert in there for the recording. But yeah, in the meantime, happy Friday. Take care.